B, did you read the State of Destiny?
I didn't have time to read it, so I had some YouTuber talk about it instead.
Well, that's good enough. So what did you think of all that stuff?
Well, I'm excited for what they're doing with PvP to some extent. I'm glad that they're going to start having subclasses inside of. They're going to have subclasses inside of the Stasis class, and then they're going to start revamping some of the standard classes that are already there. I want to see what they can do if they can start tweaking it. It sounds like with all the stuff they're going, like Lightfall and the rest of it, it sounds like they're trying to bring it away from the light-dark conflict that's been running for.
They said the saga's going to be over. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like they're going to bring that away from it, and that's not going to be the deal anymore, and they're going to go somewhere else. And I'm kind of like, yeah, I think it's about time for a change. It's been, 6 years of the same sort of bullshit over and over and over. Yeah, it's about time.
About that time.
Oh, wow, you can play this game for free online?
Yeah.
Oh.
You talking about Destiny?
Yeah.
Oh, please join us.
Yeah.
Please do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got Scott to try it out.
Yeah, which, by the way, if we can ever get him to play anymore, since, unfortunately, we got cock-blocked a little bit with Valheim, but...
Are there different servers, or is it just one server?
Right now, there's a Stadia server, there's the PC server, and then the Xbox and PS4 servers. Or PlayStation and Xbox servers.
What server are you guys on?
We're PC players.
PC.
I 100% got cockblocked by Valheim.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys, I don't know where you guys find this time. Hey, Scott, I got a bone to pick.
Yeah.
Come on here with that lessened hair of yours.
Well, we've decided that we were going to make sure the camera was off to hide his identity. Oh, never mind.
Exactly. All right, Scott, explain this to me. How is it my old man has already gotten 2 vaccine shots?
Because he's old.
Unemployed? No, he's not.
Is he over 65?
Oh, shit, maybe he is. Yeah, but they shouldn't have wasted it. That's my vote. Like, they wasted 2 good shots on him.
You're not wrong.
Look, I'm sorry. If your father caught COVID, the amount of substances that he's imbibed over the years will counteract whatever lethality.
That's what I said.
Happen.
We were sitting with some doctors one night, and they said what he's done is not possible, and he's laughing the whole time.
Maybe he's like...
It's like the Mr. Burns effect.
It's like a juicer yogi in this case.
He's signed up that when he dies, his body goes to science to figure out how the hell he's lived this long.
Oh, very Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Keith Richards. I mean...
Right.
Well, I saw that picture of Keith Richards with his daughters, and he goes, when they die, he's going to inherit everything. Yeah, Drew, Destiny's fun. I played for a few hours.
Okay.
Yeah, wait until you get to like a whole fire team worth, because like for a group of 4 people, like just you, me, Bill, and Ken, man, we can just power slog through a whole bunch of stuff.
D, you're thinking too small. We need Drew to play, and then we get one other person in your server or somewhere else, and we can do a fucking raid.
Oh, I love raids.
I know you miss raids. Well, Bill and I have been doing fun, like, 2-player Viking death marches through the swamp and stuff, so that's been fun.
You gotta understand, though, raids in Destiny are not like MMO affairs. They're like full-on, like, mechanical events. They're amazing.
Well, I'll see if I can figure it out, because I'm slowly, once I get past my grading in the next week, I'm gonna reach a point in which I won't have anything to do each day, because it's gonna be, okay, guys, here's your project. Go into your groups, leave me alone.
Yeah, Bill and I play on my lunch break.
Oh, nice. What time's your lunch break?
12.
12 to 1, or?
12 until my next meeting, which is usually at 1. Today it was 12:50.
Oh, I might have to look into this.
Are you gonna do the GeForce Now or whatever, like what Drew or what Scott was doing? Or do you have a PC that's good enough to play Destiny?
I have a brand
He's got
MacBook Pro.
Oh, so he could do the same.
Okay, so
Yeah, listen to Scott. He knows how to get you going.
there's this service from NVIDIA called NVIDIA GeForce Now that is free and lets you play PC games that you own. So if it's free and Destiny's free, theoretically you can download it and play through it like a streaming service.
So,
To play
so you're telling me one free
Destiny.
plus another free equals free?
Yeah, you pay for it in your time. You can only play for an hour session, and you go into a queue. So the few times I logged in, I was in a queue with like 300 people. It's like, then it takes like 10 minutes to get in. But I decided I just wanted to pay for it, so I paid $25 for 6 months worth. Now I just click and I'm in the game.
Ooh.
But like Destiny's free, so you can just play for free.
If you like it, though, you can
If you like
pay
it.
for the content. But
Yeah,
yeah,
well, and what's funny
that's
is
how they
that
get it.
Yeah, the good. I think their model's good because their expansions, like you can go and get them independently, like you can
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
so you can get them independently and they're fairly cheap that way, and they last for like a couple months,
10
3
weeks.
months, yeah, 10 weeks, so just a little over 2 months. So it's actually kind of a nice deal. It actually turns out, so it's like it's pretty nice. Or you can be a total freaking Destiny 2 nerd, raga-fraga like myself.
This
and
guy.
just- yeah. And just buy the freaking huge ass chunks every time they come out with the season pass and all that.
Yeah, I don't like to spend money.
Hey, you can do a lot with the free.
Oh yeah, I'm down for free. Like if you ask me to spend $1 to get eternal happiness, I'd probably keep the $1.
If you're talking about the Turtle Man in the Senate, then then
I'm not
I
going to
would.
get-
Oh,
okay.
you know what? You bring up a good point. I thought I recognized Mitch McConnell now that I think about it, given the fact I've seen him in the Neverending Story.
He's got that. He's got the gobble gobble chin.
Well, Drew, definitely give it a shot. I'll
Yeah,
definitely play
see
with you.
what I can. I'll see what I can get going on, especially when I'm out here at work during the day.
Yeah, that's.
I'm gonna go to work today.
D was right though. The game thrives on 3-player combat, basically, or not combat, but 3-player teams. And so the more people we have available, the more fun it is.
Nice. Okay. Cool. I will have to check that out.
Oh, Scott, I built the ship and I finished the dock.
You built a carve or a long ship?
I built the car.
Oh, nice.
I don't have the long ship yet.
Okay, awesome.
So I built.
I was doing coastal raiding this afternoon, and it was the best.
You have to show me the sail because I couldn't figure it out, and frankly, it terrified me. Because those waves were, like, I started getting seasick.
Yeah.
But I built so the port is completely done. So now it's all about exploration.
Yay.
Yeah. So we can raid and kill the elder when you're ready. At some point.
All right.
Is my sound weird?
Doesn't sound weird to me. Maybe a little intense.
Bill, are you using your microphone from your headset because you sound kind of far away?
Yeah, because like I said, his microphone's always up, and so it's really hard to hear him.
How's that?
Oh,
Oh.
loads better.
Oh, excellent.
Succulent.
It was like you just entered into my cranium with your voice.
I just realized after 6 months when I am on my headphones, I'm not using this microphone. This whole time I've been like keeping it close to me and like adjusting the pop filter and all that stuff. And I'm like, hey, when I'm on this, it's actually just using the little built-in oops.
Well, can't you just tell the Discord to use a different microphone than the one that's built?
Yes, you just go into the
Yeah.
settings and such.
I absolutely can. I just noticed it now.
Oh, okay.
Well, let's see what sort of silky
Sounds the
sultriness
same
we're
to
gonna
me.
get. All right, so what do we got from like last time? What happened?
Juicy.
All right, that's right. Roll credits.
Let me get to my notes. So we're finally on the hunt for Mr. Copperfield for favor for Natasha Silver. He's an eco-terrorist from the beginning of Night City. Wants to remove all human life and restore nature. ties to the technocratic order and heavily protected by them. Mr. Glass paid a visit to us and said we have 23 hours before that meet goes down.
Oh, that's
The meet is an underground substation or railway.
Well, thank you
Right,
very
it's
much for
the
keeping notes on
the
that.
subway where we were supposed to go, and we were gonna head down there to figure out if we wanted to just knock on the door and be like, "Hi, we're the people that stole your robot."
Subway
we're gonna
station
try
9
and,
3/4. You know.
Disrupt the meeting.
I almost feel like we're like the Joker in the Dark Knight, where like the gang mobsters are all meeting, and he comes walking in like, "Hi, you guys."
It's not about the
should hire
money.
us."
It's about sending a message.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let me show this trick with the pencil.
Yeah. Let me show you a magic trick.
I mean, John Wick did it better.
Yeah, but
I never
mean,
saw the other ones. I saw the first John Wick. I never saw the other ones.
Oh,
God, they're so
catch,
good.
catch both of them. Catch the
I
other
love
two.
the first one.
Yeah, the second and third
Dude.
one just amp up the ante. I mean,
Could
you
we?
can't go
do you
wrong
think
with
we
the
could do
concierge.
a watch party with that one?
What? Oh yeah,
I'd love-
absolutely. Actually, so I have Amazon Prime, so we could actually do a watch party with because I have all three.
Yeah. Wait, can you watch
Yeah.
party movies you bought?
I'd assume so. You can do it with the frickin' Expanse. That's on Amazon Prime, so I would think the
Well,
same
but
thing would apply.
that's a Prime thing. But is John Wick 2 and 3 part of a Prime movie?
do not know. I had to purchase
I'm gonna go look right now. Good God,
Huh.
dude! If that's the case, then we're gonna find. We're gonna network with you, Scott. We're gonna find time, and we're gonna do a watch party of those.
Yeah.
Oh, because they're brilliant.
Oh,
they're
they're
freaking
freaking
good.
great.
Yes, amazing.
Yep. Probably like, I would love to. I like to me like John Wick would be a great addition to the Marvel universe in some respects.
Ooh.
Ooh. Oh yeah, you can do a watch party. Wait, how does this work though? Let's see. Oh, okay. I see how it is. So
We all
the
buy
watch
it.
party. Yeah, no, that's what it is. To buy or rent the video to start a watch party, everyone who joins must buy or also buy or rent.
Hmm.
So they're getting their money regardless. Either way, we will find time, Scott, and we can all pitch in, $2 and get watch a good movie, or $4, whatever it is.
All right.
Oh,
So, just to forewarn everyone, as I have been doing to everybody so far, I've been watching a shitload of documentaries about a lot of very ugly, grim stuff. So this session should have some pretty interesting elements involved. I don't know how they're going to do it.
With
Yeah.
D.
We'll see how it goes. I love how some of that stuff starts. Here we go. So, yeah, you guys have got to go investigate. You have 23 hours pending before the next big motion is to occur. You have coordinates that lead you to the exact subway station, the abandoned subway rail station that was going to be the point of entry, and the rest was left up to you. As it turns out, Mr. Glass was not terribly interested in giving too many details. Just where it was, and left the strategy to everyone else.
I
think
believe we were thinking about going to scout it out somehow, but we are also worried that we'd tip our hand.
Yep, both of those were true.
Yep, this is correct.
I think you also were going to grab like a couple of hours sleep because everybody was, was around 3 something.
Oh
in the
yeah, because it
morning.
was like 3 o'clock in the morning.
It's 9 a.m.
Yeah.
We're getting a pot of coffee, and Ivar has the general idea of perhaps we should start calling in connections. It seems like nothing we want to just go in by ourselves, but we want to bring all our friends to back us up.
and that's where the Avengers came in. I get it now.
There we go. Now it's full circle.
So the joke
Like,
came
we
from.
should maybe get Dark Knight and let the prince know what's going on and let all our people know. What do you
I like
think?
that the princes are people.
Yeah. Of course, Mr. Douglas will be fixing himself a bit of an espresso at this point, which he puts a small dollop of pricey vodka into the mixture. But then
There's a good vodka there.
yeah, he's just like, I don't see why not. Given how everything has ranked and the amount of time that we have to react, it would be best that we culminate any and all available forces to guarantee that things don't go completely awry. I have made contact since before we have gotten some shade. Natasha should be showing here at the manor within the next 20 minutes. If at all possible, we can try and make contact with the Prince of Night City and see if he is willing to submit to his troops, but then again, he might be asleep. Although...
What a dick.
hazards of being a vampire. But we'll reach out regardless. We'll see what we can accumulate. This will probably be quite the excursion, for sure.
Will you be joining us, Mr. Douglas? As this is quite a large gathering, or you like to remain in shadows?
No, I shall remain behind because the prison is coming very close to its full culmination. As such, I'm going to need to be there in order to help the Prince and Mr. Grey both with the final material components.
So honestly, it seems fairly reasonable to me. I got no problem.
What movie is that from? Ken?
The music?
Whatever movie. Leo-
where he said
I have no
shadows.
idea.
That's from the Hollywood movie.
I haven't seen it. But I always,
Brad
when he
Pitt.
said that, it's like, oh, he said the thing! He said the thing!
So he basically just goes like, that is where I will be, and I will have to trust that the troops will take care of it. I do believe that Miss Silver will be coming along with all of you, in fact, as extra combatant.
Does anyone know how Michael is doing? Did he ever recover from our trip?
I suppose we'll find out in 20 minutes.
I just
He
can't
would be a
wait.
good ally to have.
I'm very excited. John, are you excited?
Oh, I'm thrilled. Can you tell?
Where's the bastard? He never comes out anymore. He must be a pussy.
Ivar, how are
Sticks
you
and
doing this
stones
morning?
will-
I'm doing
We'll
very
break.
well. I've had good sleep. He went to bed, curled up, a nice bottle of vodka, and woke up feeling like he can take on the world.
Hello, kitten.
Ken has been polymorphed into a cat.
I think he'd be fairly happy with that.
Oh,
I'll be right back. Alright.
Alright. We have transitioned.
So, I want to, just for my own notes, who are we calling in?
Right now,
Who?
he's making calls to... he's basically making calls out to the Prince of Night City so that he can find
all
out
the
if
people
there's
who've
any-
been asking us for favors.
Yeah, basically that. And it looks like Natasha will
We
be coming
now
in with some
ask them
troops.
for a favor. You, all of you, we've scratched everyone's back. Will you scratch Ivar's back?
Oh, gross.
Do we want to get Android 18 or whatever her name is?
Not without a flea comb.
I thought we were concerned that they might be able to like override the protocol and that
Of the Stockholm syndrome. Yeah, she's too much of
Yeah.
an asset to have out in the open.
Yeah, right now she still has a 1/3 of the plan still stuffed away in her head, so it's very important that she's not like running around getting shot at. So
Yeah, so Natasha Silver, Dark Knight, Michael if he's available. That's unless John can bring out all of his other friends inside the head. That's
Well,
probably
he was able to manifest the scarecrow, right?
right.
Let's find out. I love it when my brain tries to figure out how that's gonna work. Okay.
Huh. Cat.
I go, let's roll percentile. Brain goes, roll 1d10. Looks down. Result 1. Percentile. Unknown.
We decided that Colt is going to regurgitate all of his personalities at once into an Uber army, and they're going to fight.
Yeah, if he could suddenly, could you imagine what that would be like as a small micro army? Like, if, to be perfectly clear,
It would be multi-boxing in Destiny.
Yeah, this would be, this would be possible to do, but the level of magic required would be out there. Like, if Mr. Douglas, got groupied up with Mr. Gray at some point and created a medallion where, more or less, John's physical body literally became a doorway for all the personalities to leave. It's one of those things where it's like the medallion would then be the temporary host point for all the personalities to venture forth. That'd be psychotic.
There. Now you guys get a different angle. I look taller now.
Yes. I appreciate that. We all love to see Riv's chin with Van Dyke going on. All right. So main principle here is 20 minutes pass. People kind of eat light breakfast. Pretty much the air of the whole thing is about the same. You guys have been dealing with variant forms of high-level threats for quite some time now, and even though the psychosis has been struck a few times, the situation is probably no different than what you're normally used to. So somehow or another, whatever vague threat of fear or anxiety is just kind of tucked away for the time being. You start to hear that there are oncoming guests shortly thereafter, and then you have Natasha Silver appearing. She's got her hair bunned up. She's wearing some kind of very light form of armor. It seems that she's not terribly concerned about injury, because she's not even wearing a helmet. But she has a different look and appeal about her entirely. She's not in the business uniform and altogether, crazy in the sense of being a corporate, oligarch. She is now some kind of a soldier. You see Avalon standing next to her, who's a taller man. She only comes up to about his shoulder. And the guy's got his chrome beret on. Several other soldiers of the same ilk are right behind them. And she also carries with her, outside of her own pistols, a very large, what looks to be ancient axe.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Scott.
Fair point. So they stand there. Mr. Douglas says welcome, Avalon. Miss Silver. She's like, Saber, please. He's just like, as you please. Saber, Avalon, welcome to my home. It is here that we'll be staging all our next movements. It would turn out that we are going to be supported. He's like, you are? And in comes walking Michael and Dark Knight both. And they come stepping up. Michael's just kind of puts out it's funny. Dark Knight and Michael seem to actually know one another. When they're standing next to each other, they're kind of at that closer personal distance that tells you that there's obviously some kind of a history there.
Lincoln?
What was that, Bill? You're muted. Muted.
It's got what plants crave.
It's got
Two imaginary friends.
Right.
Oh, looks so good to you. Here, would you like some Irish coffee? Look, vodka, whiskey. Here.
Who's he offering that to?
Everyone.
Michael's just shaking his head. Dark Knight just cocks his head to the side, staring at the weird cocktail that you've thrown together. Saber's just like...
John just kind of sips the coffee, goes, and it's good for degreasing engines.
She just nods her head, like, I bet. She looks to Mr. Douglas. He's sort of like, don't ask. It doesn't. It's not something I've gotten used to. All right.
He's just so resigned.
Yeah. It's
For
just,
so many
He's
months.
not keen on things anymore.
yeah.
It's
Well,
Douglas's fault. He brought us all together.
True.
which is exactly the reason why he's just sort of like, I don't fucking care anymore. Like, he just basically deals with it. And it's like, it fucking works. That's all I know. Like, my
I
crazy...
can just see every time Ivar peeing on something, Mr. Douglas, bad Ivar, bad.
Spray bottle. Well, she's like, well, I don't know that we have much more to necessarily wait on. We know that the meeting's going to be here in 23 hours, or at least it'll be starting at that time. Are we proposing any kind of reconnaissance prior to making our first incursion?
Well, do we know what kind of technological surveillance is in the area? Is there a way for us to get into system and perhaps just turn camera on so we can see from here?
That's a good inquiry. We can actually find that out. She goes walking up to the table. Now, she has a very different mannerism about her, much more matter-of-fact and straightforward. She ends up tossing the smaller hollow emitter onto the table. You can see Douglas is looking at it. She goes, Canna, can we start moving around and seeing if we can't get some satellite work? It looks like we're going to need these coordinates based on what Mr. Douglas has already proposed. And you can see this woman in a white flowing dress just kind of appear in the hollow emitter. She's like, yes, of course. I'll be more than happy to provide that. I'll need access to the network, however. She ends up looking over at Mr. Douglas like she can see him. And he's just kind of scratching his head like, how is she doing that? And he's like, she's magic. And he's like, aha, I would know better. Like, he's like, permits temporary access, Alex. Alex just nods his head and just kind of moves it over. He goes to a panel and she's like, there we go. Now I can actually share the information that we have. See here. And then you see the dining room table illuminate with the various satellite photos. She's like, all various telemetry has actually started to point that there is very little surveillance, at least of a mundane nature, in the area. That's not to say that there isn't some kind of surveillance in play. There have been certain known points. 2065. There's been certain known points where we've caught individuals, or at least certain unknown subjects, more than once in the same vicinity. We assume that they are actually keeping a very light watch on the area, but only on foot and nothing mechanical or electronic.
Are there any cameras in the subway? Anything, any old schematics that we know of to know layouts?
All various energy signatures seem to be minimum at best. Because the subway station was abandoned for quite some time, there's no reason to think that there would actually be any power funneled through those areas. As such, any kind of electronic surveillance inside of the actual tunnels is low.
What about possible examination of power grid? Power flows certain ways. Is there a way for us to see, is there excessive power in the area that might be drawing, or is it just regular?
Well, as I've said, there doesn't appear to be any sort of abnormal fluctuation in the power grid. We're not seeing any kind of power drains or anything else that would indicate a strange or aberrant form of power usage in that same vicinity. If it's anything there, it's probably going to be an independent power source, but as I've said before, any initial scans of the general area do not yield a strong sense of electromagnetic fields outside of the normal.
Barrick, what do you think? Does this not seem a little dangerous? An area that does not look very well guarded, not a lot of power. Could we be walking into a trap?
It could
That's
very
all
well be
about-
that they're simply trying to find a place that is literally off the grid.
Well, it's safe
They
to
haven't
assume that
broadcast
everything's a
this
trap.
meeting. We got it through subterfuge.
Do you think we could just show up and knock 3 times and say, we know password?
Who said anything about knocking?
It may be better if we're already there.
So we should just be waiting in line like, hey, we're here for a meeting.
I mean, that's our usual.
We could set an ambush. We
I
could
mean,
blow up the door to the place, which makes them think that it's compromised, so that they don't have the meeting in the first place.
You see,
We don't need to
Saber
get
raise
anything
her
out
hand
of
for a
them.
moment while you're talking. She's just like, wait a minute. What exactly is it that we're talking about blowing up here? I don't even have the details on exactly where our entry point is supposed to be, just the fact that it's in these coordinates. Of course, Douglas just kind
We
of
could
raises his hand. He's just like,
Blow up the coordinates.
there. She's like, as much as I'm a fan of large-scale onslaughts, that would probably be fairly noticeable, and I'd be trying to explain why any of my forces were actually in the general area. Not to mention the fact that if there's anything down there that we disrupt on a more open level, don't necessarily want to be dealing with the fallout once...
Do I understand that we're supposed to be going in like ghosts and not to be seen, but causing damage?
Well,
should I be there if we're not supposed to be seen? I can't do that.
Well, she's just like, I think you'll be fine.
Impulsive.
Well, she's just like raises her hands, like right there. See that? And
Wait
whenever
a
they kind of like,
Let me see if I got this straight. There's secret hidden meeting off grid. No one's supposed to know about this. What if we were to bring in the news and make a big deal out of this thing? Like, come look at this new gentrification of neighborhood. We're going to build it back up. And we make such big news with all news and people coming in that they cannot keep it secret.
she like points to the hologram again, trying to get everybody to take a look at it. She ends up indicating that. She says, like, okay, so now that I see what's going on, I can understand why there's some confusion. Oh, for God's sake. There is this, you know, like, she pulls up the entirety of the three-dimensional model that was provided to you by Mr. Gray. There is the subway entrance that comes through a fringe-like area of a condemned part of the Night City, you know, outskirts there. When going down inside and following where this goes, the coordinates stop at a what should be several meters thick solid concrete wall. It's not like there's a doorway that you go tap, tap, tap. There is nothing there. It just indicates that that is the entry point. Then it goes further down, as if you recall, almost 700 feet underground, in some sort of a wild and strange sort of zigzaggy-like pattern.
Wait a second. That doesn't sound like some civic project. This sounds like military. Do we know, are there any military installations or old bomb shelters left?
Kanna just replies, no, this is not an area with any kind of sort of bunker or underground construction. No hidden records and no records in public view either. This is strange. As a matter of fact, I have a belief that Saber probably has a better understanding of what could possibly be going on down there. And she just...
Well, somebody built it.
Yes,
Well,
where are the permits? Who was paid? Did they pay taxes?
and she just
Probably
waves all
kill
this
them
off.
after they're done.
She's like, it's like, you guys are jumping to conclusions. Look at this. There's not really a pathway down here. It just indicates what route to take. But as far as I can tell, just because of where we are, this is mostly like solid bedrock and like raw material and strata. There's nothing actually there. No room or nothing. This is peculiar, but we don't actually have any idea what that is. And if that wall is as seamless as it appears here in the model, then there's something else happening. Because it's not some kind of mag-sealed, high-security door. Something else is keeping it closed and out of public view.
John, what do you think?
Honestly, at this point, I'm just trying not to die. And I'm being used by the fact that you are being efficient, Ivar.
Ivar drinking Ivar coffee, vodka and whiskey.
Fuck that.
Like, that blew my head up.
My wife is setting everything on fire.
Oh, okay. That's
Oh,
cool.
my wife did that the other night. It's so much fun.
Well, at least it's not Pyrex exploding like a grenade, so...
Honey, you're on fire. What? You're on fire. What? You're on fire. Really? Yes. As she's spinning in circles as the flames are going up her apron.
Well, and she's like, we're gonna need, probably going to have, it's probably good that I'm coming along for sure then. Avalon just kind of looks at us like, guaranteed there's no secret projects or any other kind of private corporate installation here. I would find that to be very much unusual.
How many people are we expecting at the meeting?
And she's like, at the very least, we're expecting that Copperfield and whoever his associates would be, so right around 3 to 4, and then whoever he might be meeting on the other side.
And do we have any idea who he's supposed to be meeting?
Details of that nature were very well maintained and clandestine. I was surprised you actually got the information about their meet location at all.
So if he's protected by the technocracy, are we going to expect hit marks?
She just looks over at you and she's like, yeah, probably.
How big
Anything
is
else?
the tunnel?
Probably
What
a
are the
lot of other things. Not to mention the fact that there could very well be standardized looking security systems with way overamped capacities or abilities that we haven't seen yet.
I was curious. How big is tunnel that they're going down into? What size of subway tunnel?
It looks like it's 2 rails across.
2 rails, so we're looking maybe 8 feet across. How high are ceilings?
It's a goddamn railway tunnel, Ivar.
Ivar, remember
Is the other
the
end
subway
of the tunnel closed off,
inside.
or could we still get subway train to go down it?
And she like pinches her nose, and Mr. Douglas is just chuckling in the background. And is like, it fucking sucks. Like he just goes walking like on the another direction.
Ivar, Pullman's cart loaded with C4. You just slide it down the rails.
Ivar could make a magic wick that keeps coming out like cartoon. And boom.
She's like scratching her head now. Avalon's just got an eyebrow cocked with his like cybernetic eye just focused in on Ivar, and he just kind of looks over to her and leans in. Anybody who's like just under that shoulder width just kind of hears this like, is this shit really worth it?
Ivar, you know, ever
says,
since
like,
you died, you've been way more entertaining.
No.
Ivar's like, cat, I still have 7 more lives. I don't know, what does the Dark Knight and Michael think? You guys are all experts. I don't know. I'm Ivar. I just make things appear.
Well, Dark Knight takes one look at it, and he just is like, well, to be perfectly honest, if it's technocratic in origin, even if you did bring down a larger amount of explosives, there's no guarantee that whatever you're attempting to damage would be damaged. You might be looking at something where you're going to need access from an outside source. I don't even know if there could be some sort of reinforcement to the entire substructure. Hard to say. We'd have to be there in person to know. All we have is this model, so it looks like reconnaissance is going to be necessary. Otherwise, we're just going to stand here and speculate.
We don't want to blow it up from outside. From inside, blowing up might work a little better, but we're not certain if we can blow it up.
We could at least blow the people inside up.
We can blow people up.
In fact, it would be better if the outside stayed intact and the people inside didn't.
What about the poisonous gas? Can we just send poisonous gas down there?
If you wanted to send... like Avatar, like Avalon's just shaking his head. It's like, listen, problem with gas in just about every situation is you lose your mask, you're losing your life. That's a bit risky for everybody involved. I prefer bullets and explosives on the standard. And besides,
absolutely,
what we are going to have to deal with here is that if this is zigzagging is of any indication whatsoever, guaranteed they're going to have all kinds of security checkpoints at each one of these intersections. It's the only way to guarantee it. And if it's one single aisle that goes down like that, we're dealing with not just standard circumstances, we're going to have wide open warfare in a tight space with multiple people. Wait
a second, hold on here. I've already got the idea. Last time John and I did something crazy like this. Underground is cold, it has moisture. Could we perhaps, with the help of Riv, bring down temperature, make ice box?
How the hell would I do that?
Look, Ivar, what it comes down to is we're going to go in, we're going to do our thing, and smash everything. As frankly, we're not the most subtle of bunches.
Why didn't you just say thing? We think great idea.
You've got...
Because, and then drink sips his coffee again. Because at this point, and I love watching Douglas squirmed. And he just continued to drink his coffee.
Well, Avalon's got the right of it. We do need some sort of reconnaissance. Let's head out now while we still got the clock on our side.
Dark Knight raises his hand.
All right,
He's
sounds
like,
good.
wait, just a moment. He looks over at Saber. He's just sort of like, if you don't mind, I think I'll probably go ahead and take a look on foot. She's like, go ahead. Give us back whatever you can. I want you
We're
back
doing
here in about
reconnaissance.
like 2 hours. He's like, no problem. Stand by. And he goes walking across the hall, and in the creepiest fashion possible, he steps into a shadow because it's it's in the morning. So you've got those beams of light that are coming down from the columns out of those windows. The second he meets space from where the light separates, he just vanishes.
Well, that's not creepy at all.
So he's a dream construct person thing, right? No.
And Saber just looks on and is like, he prefers to call himself of a dream creature, I guess. It's the name that Natalie gave him.
Yeah. It's not creepy. It's cool.
It's not creepy at all.
All right, so if Knight is out doing his on foot deal, what are the rest of us doing?
I don't know.
Hey,
Probably discussing exactly how we're going to get exfil.
I mean, Saber, you were talking about satellites.
Let's continue to do that. Canna, why don't you start spinning those up? Let's find out if we can get anything while we monitor. It's time for coffee,
I
fellas.
mean, even thermographic of some kind if we've got bodies in there standing guard.
Well, we'll just have to do what we can do. All right, Ray, what was up?
I rolled after Dark Knight did his doodly doo. I decided to use one of my runes, and I got True Sight. What do I see?
Quick, get over with Dark Knight. True sight through the...
Stick my head into the.
Yeah, there's like no scar or anything like that. He just up and vanished. Like, that's kind of just an interesting thing. With True Sight, you're looking at... First, you have Mr. Douglas that is just kind of out of the purview, and you're staring at it, and he's got this very strong, sort of well-organized force that's just moving through him, almost like orange-yellow light, and it's moving through him in a very constructive, disciplined sort of manner. However, towards his head, you can see that there are just monumental number of like tendrils and.
Oh my god!
Look at all that.
This is my wife's dinner tonight.
That looks
Nice.
amazing.
I was like, that's
Oh.
not vegan. It's. I bet that the pigs that went into that prosciutto were vegan.
Actually, I think pigs are technically fruitarian, given the fact they go through garbage.
There you go.
So-
Even better.
It's just impressive.
Is she doing that with a side of the whiskey of the month as well?
She's doing wine.
Oh, no sidecar tonight?
No, sorry.
So, whenever you actually see, so like I said, Mr. Douglas demonstrates his mystical ability. You actually turn to your left where Barrick is busy analyzing new satellite data, and he starts to actually demonstrate a sort of wild and chaotic energy inside of his core that is reaching out through his bodily system. You can see that it is actually pushing close to his sense of awareness. You recognize it as being the budding comprehension of certain mysticism or magic. Ivar, of course, is a giant culmination of what looks to be like various thoughts, beliefs, structures, and sort of abstractions all thrown together into a big mess. While he carries a certain silhouette in an illuminated form, you're not really seeing his physical body. You're just seeing the container barely holding the crazy back. Most of everyone else that is in the same room, you can see like they have these kinds of like scarred spirits that have been through quite a bit. Avalon in particular sort of has this appearance of almost being like a modern day knight. Like, you can see that he's gotten dents inside of his armor. There are scrapes and scuffs. There's actually blood all over his hands. But you can see that there is a somber, resolute nature to his personality that really comes through as a visual manifestation. Saber, on the other hand, there is this deep core solemn glow at her solar plexus that is emanating out, and you can see the same coursing of magic in her as well, but there is almost like a sense of permanence that comes from her in particular. And it's coming directly from the center of her body, how everything connects together, and it almost seems like this indestructible force. However, you see a finite weakness right around just below the brainstem where you're actually seeing it, although you don't know how it is weak, as it appears to be almost impossible to reach. Not sure how that would play in, but you also see her personality coming forward, which is similar to Avalon, but if you could imagine, much more almost fantastical in its origin. So she has like almost the silver-plated armor with the axe in hand, and she's standing there, and there's almost like a flow to her hair that isn't actually there. Michael, standing directly next to her, basically looks like a gigantic sun, although whatever the power that you actually see coming from off of him is graphically dimmed, and you can see this flaming halo over his head where it is dark at the center, almost like burning wood, and then it's got the flames curling up and around it. Clearly from where Grace has been lost.
What I didn't we got cut off. What did you say I saw with around Douglas's head?
Just a certain erratic kind of nature. It's almost like his mind and thoughts are kind of always reaching out and trying to grab things. He's like trying to assimilate information everywhere, but it denotes a certain sense of like trepidation and constant vigilance. So there's all of that, and then on the table, strangely enough, where Canna sits in her holographic pod, you go to look at her and you realize that there is the faintest, ever so slightly small shimmer of true life sitting inside that little pod. She's not merely a hologram. There's something much more to her than that.
Is she a fairy? She's just actually this tall.
Oh, she appeared in full size when you guys landed at Saber's
okay.
house. So the hologram, she is definitely what you guys consider to be an artificial intelligence. Although Riv is now just seeing a thread that, you know, indicates he's a hell of a lot more than just a simple AI.
Interesting.
Nice.
Yep. So, unfortunately, it obscures your vision of the holograms because what you're basically seeing is a vast interaction of photonic energy all colliding together in these various shapes. But you lose the, the sense of what they actually look like in, being able to display under the regular eye. And then these senses expanded, you're not able to determine the finer details of what you're looking at. You just see the truth of it.
Fair enough.
You can still pick out parts and pieces, but it's hard to bifurcate what, the illusion it's trying to project and the reality of what it is.
Well, that was a good use of my...
After the flopping, seeing Rip kind of bug out a little bit, and goes, "Viv, come back to us."
Yeah, she's
I-
doing good.
I turned it off.
And
At
again,
least we're not in purgatory.
Yeah, you didn't run screaming this time with a serious psychosis. So, with all of that being said, you guys mill over the satellite footage for some time trying to get it hashed out. You guys are basically going to be on, in the air looking down, trying to figure out anything or everything that could possibly go your way in the right direction. There are some determining factors from satellites that show that, yes, there are certain unknown subjects that are meandering around. There is definitely a foot soldier presence in that vicinity, but light, to say the least. Either they're terribly confident, or they're just trying to stay extraordinarily under the radar. Approximately 2 hours, just a little around that point, from within the room at one of the dark corners, given the shift in the sunlight, you actually see that Dark Knight emerges from out of that shadowy corner, just whoop, like he's coming through a curtain. And Saber looks up, she's like, "Welcome back?" And he's just like, "Well, I have news."
What do you see?
Well, I can tell you right now, the entry point is definitely well guarded. It's not on foot, though. It seems that they have certain mechanical defenses that are in place. They're probably either generator-powered or in some other fashion, but definitely not something terribly visible and quiet. I couldn't hear anything, nothing gas-powered and nothing electronic that I could detect. The main problem that I actually had is the fact that there is, right where the point of entry would be, some fairly sophisticated mystical wardings. It would seem that they've used some combination of scientific theory and something of an arcane nature together. And more or less.
So technocracy.
That's what
Do
it
you
would
have
appear to be.
copies of these? Did you take pictures or images?
He looks at you. He's just like, "No, I don't have a camera."
Did you memorize them?
Ivar, have I spoiled you with my live stream?
I think so, because Ivar would like to take a look, but preferably from distance.
He's just like, it's not necessary that I use a camera anyway. It's not that there was no visible combination that I could insert. Whatever they have there is utterly blanked out in some sort of either cloak or something along those lines. We're going to need somebody who's actually got access. I'm assuming that probably some of those who are actually out on foot, of which I detected 5 individuals that are of highly likelihood that would definitely be a part of all of this. Whether or not they actually have any routine access is unknown, though.
So we have some mystically warded, super fortified conference room.
That's what it looks like.
And
How are
five
they gonna
individuals
get in there?
that may or may not have the passkey to said warded door.
The entry point is probably likely to sustain all sorts of different kinds of damage. I would imagine if they were trying to the original plan of trying to blow it open from the outside, that would probably backfire.
I think we just erase them.
Funny enough, that might work. I mean, Saber's just kind of thinking about it. It's like, most people try to break the lock, not try to erase it. It's almost like
Well,
those
just,
really
Ivar just
bad...
make it not exist anymore.
Do you think you'd pull that off?
I don't know.
Maybe
Maybe
if
we
you
can
cut away a
Mr.
large
Douglas,
enough part.
Do you have a way to create any powerful wards as a temporarily down in the war room and Ivar tried to erase?
Well, she's just kind of like raising her eyebrows at the whole war room comment. Douglas is just waving his hands like, we have another problem. This is not just strictly speaking a magical device. It is something that is actually accompanied with a scientific know-how, which means that it's going to be fail-safes. You erase one thing, a fail-safe will kick in. Now, maybe erasing the actual wards themselves is something they might not expect, or perhaps removing whatever the ether is that is powering it. That would make sense. However, just like any kind of one of my own magnetic doors, remove the power, the door stays closed. No way you're getting in, not without a proper level of tools.
Is there any way we can get eyes on these wards so we can see what they are?
I might be able to actually help you out with that, but you're going to have to be very quiet. And that's Dark Knight talking.
Man. I don't know if I could. I might have to be in the periphery on this one. She knows herself. She's just like being honest. It's like, I don't do quiet.
Ivar can be very quiet, like he's not even there. Most people ignore him most times.
Ivar, what's your range of your thingy? Your reality warping stuff?
I don't warp reality. Ivar is what Ivar is.
You're right.
Uh,
Your area of influence.
I believe it's not paradox focus.
It's 120 feet.
Is it 120 or 150? Oh no, it's 120.
Yeah.
Yeah. 120 feet.
I like your idea of erasing the lock. When you can't breach it, when you can't pick the lock, right? You can breach the door by compromising the door. If the door itself is a problem, we compromise the wall that the door is attached to. The wall's a problem. Can you compromise the building that the wall is attached to?
You want me to make wall disappear?
I'm just saying that ward has to end at some point. If
You
that
know-
point is smaller than your area,
There was once a
Can't you
restaurant
just-
in Night City that threw Ivar out, so I made wall disappear and peed into building all over food, and then put the wall back. It was very lot of fun.
I'm just thinking of maybe you can scoop out a circle right around the ward, if that
What
would even
is around
work.
this place? If we were to make 120-foot radius and put door at the edge of what Ivar can do, that's really stretching it. But what is other an area where, like, is there alley where Ivar can pee and perhaps do magic?
Like, Avalon's just kind of staring at this, going like,
He's a urine mancer.
You're a man.
William Gibson's other book.
Oh, God. At this point, like, you've got, like, Saber just, like, rubbing her temples, just trying to think. She's like, shh, shh. There's something in this insane rambling that actually might work. So, she looks at Mr. Douglas, and Mr. Douglas looks back at her, and she's like, if we remove the magic from the door, if it's going somewhere where it's not supposed to, if there's any kind of, like, variable in the correspondence of that door, and he's like, we remove the magic, then all of a sudden, it goes nowhere. Hence the door being closed. And then blowing away the wall does nothing, because it just goes into concrete. She's
But
like,
if ruins are holding door closed...
it's not that that's the problem, Ivar. It's the fact that if you remove the power that's holding the door in the lock, it might also remove the power that's keeping it connected to wherever it's supposed to go. We terminate whatever's in that doorway, we lose the pathway to the actual meeting altogether, and shoot ourselves in the foot.
Wait a second.
So
Are you
maybe
saying that
the magic
door-
is creating a doorway.
That
It's
and
like-
protecting it simultaneously. If I know anything about technology, and I do because of our own R&D teams, you always construct it with another thought in mind. Now, the technocracy have always been well known for creating certain things that always have a logical setup underneath it. Their underpinnings are all within a scientific mindset. That means that we can deal with algorithm, and if we can deal with algorithm, we can at least assume that it will have a semblance of resemblance to normal technology. Terminate the
wait a
door's
second.
power, no doorway.
It's logically based. If it's based in science, there's logic behind it, and then they're mixing it with the arcane?
Yes.
And he's
That's
back.
right. That's a stupid way to do things. The reason you do arcane is so you don't have to use logic.
Well, they have a strong
You're
definition
bridging
of what
faith.
that's supposed to be, Ivar, and they definitely disagree, and they've been able to create one hell of a global empire just on this theory alone, so it doesn't seem to be that stupid.
Oh, it's stupid. It's easily traced.
You should try trying to get into one of High Dynamat's major data fortresses. I guarantee you it's not that easy.
Yes, but we took one of their... Hey, look, we took one of their toys. Like,
Well-
I've only lost foot. and Barrack lost
Avalon's
part of
just
his
like,
head.
you barely managed to pull that off.
I lost an arm and part of my head. I'll have you know.
So, Ivar, he's drinking the coffee. If I promise to let the bastard out to play with you, would you just let the experts take over so that we can do this? Would that be okay,
Barrack
Ivar?
gonna come drink with Ivar at 9 in the morning?
Bastard,
It's 11.
9 o'clock in the morning, Ivar. I just need you to
It's 11?
focus.
Where
I
did
just
they
need you to
go?
focus
2
later,
hours later.
and let the experts do it so that we can get this done and I can go back to drinking.
I'm just curious right now where Ivar's bottle is with alcohol. Like, is it like a few empty bottles he just doesn't know?
You're like 1.5 right now. Well, she's just like, okay, stop. I've got a theory, and Douglas, maybe you can back me up on this. And he's just kind of like, I will do my best. She's like, okay. If there's anybody else in this room who's actually got any kind of understanding of how magic works, now would be the time to collaborate. Okay.
He's got whistles. It's
So-
continuing
Both
to
of
drink.
us will.
She's just
Yeah,
like, she
not
points
it.
at Ivar, who's raising his fingers, and she's like, not you, not yet. Just wait. She's like, this is what I'm thinking. If we don't stop the flow, we can keep the link to wherever it goes open. The problem is making it traversable. Guaranteed, they're going to have to find ways where anything intangible trying to pass through won't make it through. We have to try and assume that we're the ones making this door from an arcane perspective. As far as I can
So you
tell,
want to repurpose the energy.
I want to actually make certain that we keep the connection, but find a way around. There has to be some way that we can actually manipulate it. Now, if he can actually do with the material that he's talking about, phasing it in and out, maybe what it is that we actually think about it in terms of making the door itself intangible. We don't stop any of the energy flow because it doesn't actually matter if the door is physically composed of actual phased matter or not. But if we actually make the door itself traversable, that might actually work. But that's not to say that they haven't already come up with that plan to begin with as well. Maybe we can pull that off under extreme stress. Meaning the door itself never gets breached, but we pass through regardless. Is it possible, Ivar, for you to actually keep the current flowing and make the door completely and utterly intangible simultaneously?
So you're telling me you'd like Ivar to take the atoms and speed them up enough to, like, spread them apart big enough so we can jump through hole?
Kanna jumps in and she's like, no, she's actually talking about changing its phase frequency so that it actually becomes something intangible. More or less becoming something of a physical object, but maybe a half of a millisecond ahead of time or behind time. And she looks over at
Ivar to change time.
and he's like, not exactly. Just the resonance of the molecules themselves. Anyway, what was that, John?
Oh, don't mind me. So I rolled an exploding occult
Oh my.
for it. So it was basically 32. So 32, and then I rolled a 24 tactical. So John's just kind of thinking. He's like thinking. So he's approaching it from the occult, how to repurpose the energy, and then running tactical, as in basically how to actually perform the action.
So, with that in mind, you're pretty sure that anything dealing with the, it's like phasing the door would probably be very difficult. Even for somebody who can visualize what it's doing. And Ivar is like a loaded cannon at this point. Because he's not operating from a strong sense of personal, atomic physics or any kind of quantum physics. He could visualize it, but who knows what the fuck will happen to the freelance energy coursing through the doorway. When you actually start to think about it, you're like, what if instead you take the matter in which the door is encased and correspondence, and in just such a way you cause a warp in space-time that causes the doorway to literally bend downward. It is not physically changing phase, nor are the molecules adjusting, but what happens is that its physiological placement in reality starts to bend downward, upward, or to the side, basically revealing what's behind.
Time?
Wrinkle in space, specifically, not time.
Well, Ivar just rolled a 24 occult with a 18 higher learning education to see if he can make the physics of this match with the arcane.
Yeah.
And to see if he generally grasps how this can be done.
So, John...
Honestly, Saber, I think you're all on the right track. I completely agree with you. I think if Ibar can boost me with his power, I think we can do exactly what you need.
And she's like, I can offer some of my assistance as well. And Mr. Douglas is like, that is good. What exactly are you thinking?
Well, just warping the matter of the door itself, corresponding space and time to basically bend the fabric of reality, and using Ivar to juice me up to do it.
John,
Juicy.
John, I'm curious. If we were to bend this reality time, could we possibly bend time to the point in which the door was already opened in the past?
That's too much.
She's like,
Keep it simple, Ivar.
She's like,
keep it simple.
Messing with anything temporal is definitely not advisable under any circumstances. We're only
What
talking
about
about.
chicken?
She's like, Ivar, not now. She looks over at John. She's like, are you talking about basically creating a bend in the space that actually sits next to the doorway, causing it to open up like an aperture, but not obstructing the door or the energy or anything else, leaving it completely functional? She's like,
expanding the keyhole?
yeah. Then she's like, that could actually work. She looks over at Avalon's like, we've got something. Michael's just standing there, it's like, not unlike what we actually used to do when traversing various realms during this height of creation. Like, and of course, hearing statements like that makes your heads all go. He's like,
You know.
he's just like, I mean, it's the equivalent of going to a science project and having that volcano full of, vinegar and baking soda, but nonetheless, I think it's doable.
So he just kind of downs his coffee all in one go and just goes, all right.
Wait, I have one last question. If he does this, will there be people protecting him? Because last time I did something with John, I died.
It's a loose concept.
Well, I think we have at least one hell of a starting idea. Next question is that once we've actually made breach, if this is pulled off, what are we going to have to look at in terms of security? Like, we don't have any idea. And we're going to be moving a fair number of troops as well.
Well, I mean, realistically, you spearhead the tunnel, you maximum force throughout the whole facility. Because the thing is, the moment we open that door, they're going to know.
Wait,
And they're going to throw everything at us, so we throw everything at them. Everyone's happy. They die. We die.
if they don't know anybody's coming and no one's supposed to know about this, perhaps they don't have a big bouncer inside.
They probably won't have any armed personnel in the immediate area. I assume there's going to have some sort of automated security system. Almost for sure. Once the alarms go off, they're probably going to try and seal us in. If it's something of a narrow corridor, we can expect that they're going to jam and close or condense any chance of escape. Might have to utilize that same warping technique throughout the entire venture forward.
Well, we just move forward quickly and try to outpace them. Strike hard, strike fast, and get the hell home.
This is dangerous. Extremely dangerous. We don't even have enough time to react. She's actually just looking at it. It's like Avalon just kind of pipes in. It's like, we've been through worse. She's like, she looks up and it's like, for the first time ever, are you trying to lie? He's like, no. We've been through worse. He's like, when? And he's like, you don't remember? She's like, cocks her head. He's like, all right, you got hit upside the head. Don't worry about it.
Venezuela, 1986.
Budapest?
And it's like,
Budapest.
He basically is like, it's going to become all the more important that we clear every single area that we go in. We can't rush. We cannot run. We'll have to make certain that we clear all corners, all areas. We're going to have to make certain that we actually bring with us a certain amount of tactical shielding as well. He actually looks at it and is like, make certain that we have all that we're going to need. And they just kind of nod their heads. It's like, we'll be able to run ourselves a small phalanx. We might actually be able to produce, depending on the narrow sides of it, or how wide it is, or the structure itself. If it is automated, we might be able to actually throw out some jammers or anything else like that. The only thing I could hope to find here is that something of a logical nature goes to their automated systems as much as the rest of it. Now, anybody who's fought these things, he ends up having, just makes a motion and brings up, the hit marks. And, most everybody's like, ugh, whenever they take a look at them. And it's just like, good. That means everybody understands what the hell they're capable of. They don't stop.
No.
They're highly destructive, and they have a tendency to be extraordinarily vicious in every shape, way, and form. They'll probably show up maybe 30 seconds after the initial incursion to mop up whatever the automated systems don't. And we don't have any idea how many there might be. So, we're going to have to make certain that if, or when, or whatever your Sunday punches are in this particular crew, make sure that you're taking them down the second you see them and don't let them come any closer than they absolutely have to be. They get close, or they get angles or range on us, they're going to melt us down with those damn plasma injectors.
Ah, good times.
So John tells me that the hit marks are like they're foot soldiers.
More or less, based on all the analysis that we've had so far, they have a central link to some sort of a hub hive mind, something like that. Not to mention the fact that they can be reissued orders from anywhere else in the world with only a few seconds in between, and they can be complex orders at that. Mostly, though, they actually record and film everything.
What's next up on the food chain?
Compared to a hit mark? I've never seen anything.
The hit marks are their foot soldiers. What else are they keeping in reserve?
We've had hints that possibly they've been carrying higher technological models of the same kinds of androids they've been keeping around. I think Alpha 916 is actually one of those models, or at least some variant of one of those models.
Okay.
Well, since the nerd hardly got into one, would the nerd be able to get into another more easily?
That depends if he's not
Oh,
completely
no.
overwhelmed by the amount of gunfire
Ivar,
and
if
having
you
to warp
remember,
space.
yeah, it was a bit of a rough time for the cult after that.
Yeah, we're not going to do that again unless we have to.
Either way, it's all going to be down to one thing. Assessing the situation, making absolutely goddamn sure that we can actually take care of any threat that emerges, and making certain that we don't miss one. We don't know what their fight capabilities are, how much their numbers are going to be, but given the fact that we can't back off until this is done, we don't have much choice. I would say...
And then John,
Go ahead.
John kind of smiles and looks over at Michael. Maybe we should pray?
He actually looks over and he's just like, no, he's not listening. Listen, and like he goes right over to this whole point of it's like, those of us who are actually fairly strong should definitely lead the strike. He ends up looking over at Saber. She just nods. She's like, I'll run point. I'll be able to assess the situation and give back proper reconnaissance in high speed. You can see Avalon just kind of looks at her with a little bit. It's almost kind of like a glare. He's just sort of like, and then she just is like, don't worry, I'll be fine. And he's like, shakes his head. It'll be important that we actually feed information back to the entirety of our teams. You said there's going to be a phalanx? He's like, best I can guess, if we actually have a 4-man front row and a 4-man back row, and if we actually have ourselves boxed in properly, we might be able to actually keep ourselves with those specialized shields that we were able to use last time. She just kind of nods her head. It's like, we might be able to make that work. That actually comes into our favor. We can actually hunker down and make slow movement to target. That's if we get sort of radical levels of gunfire from various automated turrets and other things like that. Of course, at this point, if we're looking at any kind of like hyper security, I'm thinking possible traps, movable floor plates, anything else that could probably there, and blast doors that could slam shut to isolate and segment whatever part of our team we have so that we can be less efficient.
How do they deal with EMP?
He holds up his old
Here you
Russian.
go.
He's just sort of like, if they're shielded, great, but in this case, if you're blasting off any kind of EMP, you're going to affect some of our team members.
Same.
He just nods his head.
That's my concern. They're shielded. We're not. Are they going to know that in advance and try and take out anything from a pacemaker to a implant of some kind?
It's safe to say that any kind of defense solution that we're going to be dealing with here is going to incorporate some form of EMP if they're going to be smart. It's very likely that they'll anticipate that some bionics are going to be involved. At least, that's the way I'd look at it if I was running security for it.
Yeah.
When is this all going down now?
21 hours.
God damn.
Yep.
Douglas, do you have any way I can shield myself? Because
He's just
if
like,
they do EMP, I'll have a functional left arm. And that's about it.
He's like scratching his chin. He's like, I think I may have some kind of solution for you, yes. I'll have to work inside of our war room. You are certain that they might have some kind of EMP and other type of electronic measures? He nods his head. He's like, if they are operating from a strict sense of logic, we might be able to disrupt it. If it works on circuit boards and things like that, we might be able to cause some sort of counter magic of the sort. And it's like, I have some ideas. I might be able to produce something in the next 10 hours. He actually looks over at Saber. It's like, if you don't mind, we can collaborate. I can show you the war room that you were so curious about. And she's like, why not? I guess the rest of you, pour over this. Let's try and see if we can't find most likely scenarios and be ahead of it. And she just nods and they all walk off. And pretty much at this commiserating point, everybody's in the dining room area. They're discussing satellite photos, going over possible points of entry to get the fastest point. Dark Knight obviously suggesting that he can probably get you guys directly in there, but the number of people involved is the only problem that he would have, as he's only transported maybe maximum a total of 6 or 7 people at most. So he's just sort of like,
He'd just be ferrying people.
Yeah, he'd have to blink out, like doing back and forth kind of stuff. So he's just sort of like, but he thinks that would probably be the most surprising way of entry because you wouldn't be coming in through variant physical means. And it's all covered inside of that railway area. So there doesn't seem to be any like primary foot soldiers in that vicinity. So getting everybody stationed there would probably be a good first point. Then whenever Douglas comes back, he ends up tossing out. You can see that Saber's just kind of looking at him and is like, well, that was fun. And Douglas comes over and he starts handing everybody these small bracelets.
All right. Friendship bracelets again.
And he's just like, these are kind of an interesting idea. We were able to test them at least within the environment, and it seems that they are actually somewhat functional. My hope is that what they do is create a bunch of arcane feedback. It may disrupt their targeting systems, but it will also disrupt normal energies of a physical level. It should stop EMP from being completely effective, and it should also disrupt any kind of targeting systems, making it less likely that you will be easy sitting ducks by automated security. I am hoping that is the case anyway. Regardless, she has shown me how it can be employed with these new shields of theirs. I think this is going to work. So,
Ivar likes jewelry.
well, put it on. It's about as chaotic as you, so you should feel pretty friendly with it.
Does it matter? Left or right?
Ivar is a bit concerned, and he just wants to do an Arcana check. Is this anyway going to mess with any of his bizarre abilities?
It's just gonna make Ivar
No,
normal.
it's basically along the lines of if you have like a flaming stick, you just put the flaming stick into the fire, and then it just becomes a sort of akin to the same thing.
Got it. Well, 34 is what Ivar
Yeah.
rolled. Is like, is this going to like mix with my medicine?
Schrodinger's doorway. All right, so all of that.
Does it matter? Left or right? Bionic or otherwise?
Which, yeah, basically he describes it as more or less being some sort of a light jamming bracelet, more or less. It should make things somewhat difficult. The only downside is that mystical effects, if they are directed, will have to kind of compete against these bracelets as well if you intend to use it on a person who's wearing them. So, for any kind of arcane work of any sort, if you're attempting to do something like knit somebody's flesh and bone together, you're going to have to remove the bracelet in order to accomplish that. Just because it will disrupt standard spell work in the same way.
Will it affect my magical blood ring?
You don't know. Doesn't seem to.
All right, good.
Oh,
All right. I'm putting it on left so I don't mess up the weight on my right.
Well, shall we
Left
get
one's
going?
EMP shielded already anyway.
Okay, so for everybody's notation, you now have warding bracelets. This means that there is a 60% mischance because it is woven together with a little bit of entropy, but it's got a 60% mischance on targeting and things like that for it to basically miss you, and we're dealing specifically when it comes to turrets or anything with an IFF detection. And it will also throw in the added benefit of disrupting or distorting cameras, electronic devices, and that 60% mischance also means that if there's EMP in the area, if it fails that 60%, then the EMP passes with complete failure. It doesn't have any effect on you whatsoever.
So John likes this for personal purposes.
Ivar's actually kind of a fan. He's picking up all these cool warding things to keep things away from him.
Yep.
right.
Gotta love being able to get that super special gear.
No longer will Ivar be peeing in public when he will hear police officers say, "Next time use bathroom."
All right, so as you guys pour over the data as much as you possibly can, there's only so much you can do because it's pretty much going to be guesswork after a certain point. But yeah, so you guys basically have the run-of-the-mill plan. Hour approacheth because you're going to want to get and disrupt the meeting when it happens, and you're going to know that maybe 30-40 minutes prior to that meeting, those individuals will probably attempt to show up. Who knows if they'll show up under visible means or not.
Who knows?
How long does the true sight last for, Ken?
She
It's
dismissed
it's
it.
already gone. Yeah, I dismissed it anyway.
Yeah, the way that the timing works out is per encounter. So by now it would have ended.
Oh, okay. Because I
'cause
was
we've
going to say,
had
that'd be a nice thing to be sitting there staring at the door and see if there's anything magical going on.
Yeah.
I could roll it again. Possibly.
Iron Giant shows up.
She's playing the game of Magic Roulette constantly.
Yeah, I love it.
She is
It's my
the
favorite part about her.
She is the one true arcane slut machine.
Slut machine.
Yeah. All right, so at this point, it is definitely a good idea to contemplate having any and all medkits necessary and available brought with you, or any other kinds of material, equipment. Throw it at me, what you got, because pretty much after this, it is all the way downhill.
Is there basically a technological like nanite kit that I could actually boost John's regenerative abilities?
In what way or capacity?
Just from the standpoint of shielding against arcane energy from the hit marks. So kind of like because he doesn't wear armor, he just takes the hits.
Yeah, I mean he's pretty much.
But if there's something that can activate, and he doesn't actually have to use his SFR.
In this case, so the funny thing is that 60% mischance may have an effect on a lot of the targeting systems of those hit marks. You don't know, but there's a chance that could be the case. Yeah, because they're androids, so they're technically counted as automatic or some form of automatic security system.
John kind of looked at Douglas and says, I've never really been fond of armor, but I think this might be the first time I actually might need to wear something.
And you can see.
Are there any in the armory any rings or other jewelry that could possibly displace Ivar? So somebody, it makes it look like Ivar's here, but really Ivar's over here. Or somehow give him the illusion that he may not be there. It may be a temporary invisibility, or I actually like the idea of any displacement or anything of a defensive type in rings.
In this case, there is like a ring that is present. What it actually, so there is definitely a magical ring. Let's see what it actually does.
I condemned a very powerful soul the last time we were there.
Uh-huh.
Do I have the ability to create Stygian armor?
Yeah. You'd have to go and have a conversation with someone, but yeah.
Okay, I'll let you have that conversation with Drew, and then we'll talk to you about it in a second.
So you do find a ring, yes. So when you put it on, like you just kind of basically try to. So the ring itself is what appears to be polished petrified wood.
So I have a magical wood ring. Do you need me to roll arcane to figure out what it does, or is Mr. Douglas just going to
Well, you'll be informed as to what it does. He says he believes that this will probably increase your general overall toughness. Now, when you slide the ring on, you can feel almost like the surface of your skin suddenly becoming more tense for a second and then relaxes.
Okay, so
Ring of bark skin.
Kind of. It's sort of a combination of both, but so what it does is that while you're wearing this ring, your skin, like the entirety of your skin, has an armor equivalent of 35.
Wow.
And it's magical, so that means that magical attacks and damage do not just immediately pierce right through it.
So this would just go on my stuff as a skin, and it would be a plus 35.
Yep, across the board.
It's magical Trevor.
Yeah, so John's just kind of listening to this, and he's actually really concerned about a lot of the stuff. So he just all of a sudden goes really, really pale, and just jaw opens, jaw closes, and goes, "I don't want to do that. I have to do that. I have to talk to her, don't I? Really don't want to do that." He has to talk to Mother, doesn't he?
Probably. She'd probably be
Mother,
the only.
please.
Well, what are Mother's skills? Like, wait, your skills are the same across the board, but she's what are her innate abilities again?
There is she's Unholy Arcane 9, Arete 4, Condemn 4, Prime 3, Matter 2, Forces 4. John at this point is Holy Arcane 12, Arete 5, Prime Matter, Forces, Entropy, Correspondence, and Spirit in the Crest Edition. So that's what he is versus
Okay.
her. And
So
she reached up and condemned the soul. Like, oh, I'm taking that. And then he's like, I can't go into this not armored. I can't just take hits. That's stupid.
So what has to happen here is that John will literally have to interact with her because he's got the one magic discipline she'll need in order to craft what you're looking for.
It's like, okay. Douglas, I've got to do something.
And what does that?
So I gotta go see Mother.
And he just kind of like looks at you, he's just sort of like, why is it that I get this chill up my spine just at the mention?
It's bad, but she's okay. It's a complicated relationship, but
It sounds like it.
she can help me create something that will make sure that I survive while the rest of you die. I mean, survive as well. Barely. Maybe.
Well, I would
Well, no.
suggest that you find yourself down to my laboratory. Maybe if you have to do anything from there, it would be best if you actually had a secure location.
In your laboratory, could you ward just in case she decides she wants to come out?
That's terrifying.
And by ward, I mean behind me.
Right. Not
Thanks.
a problem.
He goes, "Hey, Alex, what you doing?"
He's just sort of like standing here watching you go crazy. Why?
Oh, well, mind taking me to the laboratory? And John just like, "I'm done," and he walks to
Yeah.
the laboratory.
Down you go. Let's see here. So, all right. So
Eric's gonna load himself up with a bandolier.
That's right. He's gonna fucking enjoy the shit out of his recent purchases.
God said, "Bring the ammunition."
Yep. Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. And that's exactly what he's doing. Loading one magazine after the next. Just
And for fun, he's alternating rounds.
Well, thankfully, we spent all that time like worrying about the supernatural, and now we're going for the nice little combination of metal and flesh.
well, what's
Nice.
funny is that because they're arcane in nature, it puts them in the supernatural category. So even if you shoot these hit marks with some of that, like the wrought iron rounds or any of that other stuff, there's a good chance that will
Yeah.
actually have a reaction too. All right. So in
You were saying
brief,
that John has the one ability that she could utilize to do that.
yep, you have an arcane discipline of spirit, which is the only thing that's going to allow you to control the essence as it is being, crafted into another material and object.
Alrighty.
You're gonna speak to Mother.
Yeah.
So when you say Mother, I always think of all the jokes with my pants.
Yeah.
God.
And it's like,
I mean-
Mother would not approve.
John's maybe blasé, just surface wise, but he actually knows how dangerous this is, just like Avalon. Like he's paying attention. He's
Yeah.
hearing this, going, "Fuck!" In his head, he's going, "Fuck, fuck, 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 fuck," screaming
Like a chicken.
that.
You've
Um,
never brought Mother out, have you?
No.
We've seen
No.
the
That's the thing is, when we were doing that thing, that wasn't John that snatched the soul. Mother took temporary control, snatched the soul, took it for her own devices. More than likely, just so that she could talk to him. That's his thoughts. Like the only reason she would take a soul and capture it is because at some point she knows that John knows that she knows that he knows that he has to go down and talk to her.
So you arrive in the laboratory. Mr. Douglas is there behind you, of course, and he just keeps it as a neutral scene to start with. And he's so like, whatever you need to do, do it.
Well, this is bad, Douglas. I mean, that's the only reason I'm doing this. Absolutely the only reason. You know that, right? Good. Seal the door. If it ain't me coming back, don't open.
time for a will check.
As you please. He does just that. You hear the door lock.
And he just kind of like looks for some place to like, well, he just lays down on the ground. So is there any place he can actually lay down, like a couch or
Oh, you can basically just make the request. More or less, because of the use of it and the fact that it's expanded, you're just sort of like, could I have a couch, please? And it's like the whole place just responds, and then one emerges.
It says, oh, a therapist couch. Funny. So he lays down on the therapy couch,
Yep.
and he just closes his eyes and just drifts off
Mother.
in the station.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the transporter just looking at him, goes, just, no, I don't want to hear it. Just go. And he gets on the train and goes. He's off to see Mother.
Yep. So you slide into your own mindscape, all the rest of the real world completely fading away. The train is now taking you across, fully repaired, and looking very much exactly the way it was before everything got ruined. It goes for some time, or at least that's the perception, but you've gotten used to that distortion. When you arrive, it's kind of out in this sort of like strangely dark, almost like retroactive looking city. You've got like the stone bricks and stuff like that from an earlier time, probably, old New York or something like that, where most of it is kind of got that old feel to it. It's almost as if you're perceiving things in black and white on top of it. When you step out at one of the floor apartments, you go stepping inside, and the moment you do that, you can hear those faint chains that are still kind of dangling from the ceiling. There's no lights or illumination, but when you step through and close the door behind you, all you hear is just sort of like, you never really come and visit these days.
You know how it is. I'm always. He's not making eye contact. It's like, you know how it is. Just get busy. You try to work on yourself, and it's a long term. So here we are.
Here we are. Do you want something to drink? And of course, whenever she comes walking just into view, you don't see her face or anything, but you're looking down and you can see the long gown that kind of hangs down. It's definitely for someone that has, a richer or wealthier background of a sort, but you can tell that its materials are nothing like what you'd expect. Nothing of the linen or the bright colors. Quite in fact, the opposite. It seems to be that it is well-manufactured leather by the look of it, and pitch black. There is a slight glossy nature to it from obvious open wounds that are still sort of like pouring down from various parts, you can see that all around her waistline, these incredible wire insertions, like piercings, that go from just the outside of the hip, belling outward, and then piercing into the lower ribs, and then coming into that point, creating this sort of elegant bell shape right with the dress. There are various tear marks and the rest from the front where you can see these just fine cuts. There are what appear to be staples that are holding them together, but there's still that sort of vague sign of fluid kind of flowing through it. And the upper part of the dress has that tightness to it, like she's in a corset. But you can see that the ribbing and the rest of it is actually fixed with this incredible razor wire that's always going all the way up and around through the centerpiece there of the sternum. You don't see the rest of it, but you can tell the gray skin just above, right above the breast line where it ceases, and you can see that that dress has been completely sewn in, which looks like some kind of like same thing like piano wire as well, but done in an elegant stitch, causing the skin to pull taut as the dress gives weight.
Well, that's not creepy.
And she holds up one of her hands for you to take it, basically to bring you further in.
And he does it. He just is like, "You're looking well, mother."
She's like, "Thank you. I feel rather nice, I have to say."
How long has it been?
Too long, if you ask
Years?
me. A few.
I had 77 IP, so I spent it to raise his prime to 3 and his spirit to 2.
Nice. Nice. She's like, "You've obviously come here for a reason, because you don't necessarily just come around for a chit-chat. Does it have something to do with your little pet that you had me get?"
I don't know if that was me or he did that, so you're saying that I asked you to?
And she's like, "Come on, don't play silly. Besides, I'm certain that he's ready to be useful any time now." And so when you're looking around at the tile, floor, which is, scummy, dirty, with this table at the center, you can smell an Earl Grey tea in the room. But those chains that you can hear just dangling and clanking against each other everywhere is very much unsettling. When you hear this block of what sounds like stone moving into view from out of the darker part of it, you can see the demonic entity that you had originally condemned, except for now it is splayed up against this thing. You can see that it is shivering in raw agony as all of these like Stygian chains, hooks, and the rest of it keep it latched there, and you can see it just completely overwhelmed. It can't even tell that there's anyone here in the room. You are actually violently aware of the sensations that are going through that creature at the moment. But you can see, not again looking Mother in the face or in the eyes whatsoever, she comes brushing the side of the skull of this tremendous demonic entity, and you can see that it actually leans into and tries to recoil simultaneously, uncertain of what the touch could possibly mean. You're looking at a demon, so incredibly enraptured in some kind of pain and pleasure and terror that it can't decide what's up, what's down, or any of it. She has this thing completely and utterly gone. And she's like, "So, I think he's ready to do whatever it is my darling boy would like." And she just runs down the center part of his chest. You can see that there's a small incision that occurs from the sharp razor-like nails that she has.
I see you've entertained yourself. So I need. I'm in a situation where I need to. God, I never thought I'd have to do this. Forge armor.
Oh, she's like, she just kind of, you can hear her voice liltingly come up where she's like, "My dear man, are you going to actually try and craft? I never thought that you would actually go so far."
Well, end of existence kind of scenario, and frankly, you know me, I like keeping my own skin on me. And he kind of inches a little bit farther away from her, not to encourage her to like flay him.
Yeah, right. She's just kind of like brushes her hand across the midriff of the creature that is now just quivering completely. You can hear small, like inhumane, sort of like almost pleas coming from out of its throat. And she's like, what a strange creature, this one. Not necessarily from any of the normal planes that you and I are familiar with. Quite a different one entirely, in fact. But, as it turns out, quite a lot of fun to break. And he's not even close to me. What's that?
And it is broken. He's not toying.
Well, she's like, oh no, it's not toying with me at all. You can actually feel the smile on her face, even though you're not looking at him. Looking at her, rather.
He just, like, full body shiver, just looks away for a second, and just like,
And she's like,
all right.
I'll make certain that he does exactly what my little boy needs. And she just kind of like grabs and just kind of like pats it a few times on one of the exposed parts of flesh. And she's like, let's get to work then, John. This is going to be fun.
Right.
Our own little project together. I'm so excited. And she goes wandering over, and the table that had the tea and the rest of it becomes more of this operating table with, you know, the large arms and straps and the rest of it as the two of you begin to get to work.
So, no, normal parents play Monopoly with their children. Normal parents take their time to the park. And he's just muttering this like little epitaphs of like normal parents do this, normal do this. All the way. He's like psyching himself up to what's about to happen.
Oh yeah, you're about ready to commit a few sins all of your own.
Oh, he is a demonic knight now.
Yep. So, it is now 55 after 9. I'm certain that we are going to have to start pushing it out in a way, but I think next session will definitely be very exciting.
Go
Dude,
time.
I'm excited for it. It's gonna be great.
Yep. We seem to have all these kinds of strange, like, meetings and conferences. I hate to say it, but it almost strikes me as being very similar to what they attempted to do with the first, like, prequels in Star Wars, where it was, like, constant council meetings all the time.
What you doing here?
Yeah.
Need to open and have another meeting.
It just makes for good TV, right? It's like episodic. We get the
Send a fucking email.
we get the 2 hours of build up, and then we have like the release episode and the aftermath episode where we're dealing with it, and then someone's like, "So I heard you have a very special set of skills." While we're like still limping, the silver card is activated and Ivar is being carted away, and like someone shows up.
I like how
So-
Ivar's immediately the one who's getting pegged. Oh, man.
I mean,
I'd like to point out that Ivar is now up to 91 on his armor. I'm
Yeah.
not sure where that puts him in things, but he started with nothing.
you're
Well,
whatever the opposite of a full metal jacket. Like you're a full metal jacket, right? Because you're squishy on the inside.
Yeah. Well, I think that is definitely a good point, and gotta love those interesting cameos. Mother making her first.
Who's
appearance.
Avalon? I can't remember who Avalon is.
Avalon is Saber or Natasha Silver's right-hand man, her commander, her second in command.
Yes.
Yeah, bigger
Okay.
guy, big ass. You know, he's got like the bionic eye and the right arm. That's all the old Russian cybernetic. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I
Barrett's
kept.
people.
Well, I'm imagining him as what's his name, like Bato or whatever from Ghost in the Shell. The dude with the cybernetic eyes is like the huge beefy guy. But I'm like, but who is he again?
So, on a side note, Ivar, besides having this ring, I was thinking about something, and I'd like to just try it with a quick wheel check to see if Ivar can even pull it off. Is Ivar wants to warp reality around himself, in a sense that if anything came within like a 5-foot radius of him, it would almost step into a warp in space and end up somewhere else. So being such that nothing could ever actually get to Ivar. It's like a donut of reality bending.
You're more or less talking about kinetic redirection, if we're going to simplify it.
Okay.
Meaning, like, if you have a kinetic force that hits that field, it basically becomes redirected all the way around.
Yeah, it basically spins around outside. What would the target be for that?
Given its simple principle, at least in terms of thought, I would say probably 7.
Okay, I just want to see if he can do it.
It's just a matter of maintaining concentration at that point, just like everything else.
Yeah.
Damn.
Well, 1 degree of success.
Well, that means that you get the basic functionality there.
Okay.
It seems to kind of work. I mean, if you go wandering around telling like young small urchins to start throwing beer cans at you, that'd be a good experiment. But and yeah, okay. So that sounds good. I think we'll basically push it there. And to the 2 viewers, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.
You have 2. 2.
Yeah.
Better than 1.
Yay! Thanks for